And welcome back, everybody. Another episode of PaintCast. Thanks for sticking around. My name is Ashton with Red Modeling Paint, the bearded host behind the brush. Today we're going to be doing a little bit of Cehpalyx, I think. I've got to get caught up on this army. I was supposed to have it done about this time, end of April, but life gets in the way. So I figure I'll take some time right now and work on it and maybe make a little bit of progress. I do want to take some time though to answer a question. Someone had shot me an email and I failed to respond to it on air in the last PaintCast, so I wanted to just go wrap back around to that. And this is from Travis Adel. He's asking, I found that the more white there is in a color, up to and including white itself, the harder it is to get it to blend nicely. Can you talk about how to deal with that particular problem? And I suppose in the last PaintCast we did talk about that in some roundabout ways. But yeah, you know, the lighter a color gets, the harder it does get to blend with. And I don't know if that's due to the chemistry of the paint or the fact that you know, things just show up more on lighter colors than they do on darker colors. But yeah, the lighter you go, the harder it does get to blend. And the way that I deal with that is I usually wet blend those colors. When it comes to white, I'll try and steer away from using a pure white and stick instead with a very light gray, a very light blue, a very light tan, you know, work with like the cream colors. That will help, and then just kind of stick to just the very edge of the highlight being a pure white color. So, you know, there's some ways around it. You know, if you're working a light color on top of a light color, you can usually two brush blend those colors just fine. But when you're going like light on dark, it makes it a lot harder. So the way I deal with it though is yeah, like I say, I just try and avoid I try and avoid using pure white. I guess that's not really dealing with it, that's just avoiding. So I don't know what the good answer is there, Travis, but I do know that if you look at, you know, some of those people who have done some great, you know, some of the great painters out there, you know, Matt and Meg and some of those guys, Matthew Fontaine, you know, they don't work in whites a lot either. They'll work in those grays and just do their highlights in the white. And you know, you can do that type of stuff with glazing and layering and things like that. So hope that helps you out, buddy. Anyway, what I want to go ahead and work on now for the next little bit is, like I said, the Cehpalyx army. So I'm going to bring up this dredge here, and I'm going to start working on him. What I want to work on here is I think I'm going to apply a wash. Go ahead and apply a wash to the metals on his claws there. Also put a wash inside there where the bone is showing through, and then I'll come back to this to add some gore and some blood effects using a Tamiya clear red. I'll show you guys how to do that tonight. I've got a couple of small based infantry gobbers that I need to finish up so that I can get them on bases. And then these guys, these solos here, these two solos here for the Cehpalyx army are just about ready to be based as well, just about done with them. In fact, I need to adjust my lighting there a little bit because it is coming off really dark. So let me do this real fast. And that's good. That's good. Right about there. That's better. That's a much more accurate depiction of how this guy looks. So anyway, set him aside for now. Let's get my wet palette over here. And the color that I like to use for the wash in this Cehpalyx army is Secret Weapon Miniatures Armor Wash. Leaves a nice brown dirty color behind. Works really well to create a nice warm effect on your metals. And nothing fancy here with these washes. Just apply them directly on my wet palette. Use a brush and apply liberally, as it were. And these metals were airbrushed. And then attached to the arms. You can see underneath there, I did a little bit of zenithal highlighting. And honestly, when this is dry, the only way, the way that I'm going to highlight them is probably just dry brush them, just because there's a lot of detail on them, and I think the dry brushing will stand out really, really well. Hoping that this army can be done here in the next few weeks so that it can be auctioned off for the Donate or Paint Challenge. Like most things in my life, I tend to overestimate my ability and underestimate my time. So this has taken a little longer than I had hoped it would, but Mark's a good buddy of mine, so I am happy to do this for him. Okay. Add a little bit of this to the screw here. And then on the back and the shoulder, in the bone area there, I'm going to add a bit of a wash as I prepare to start adding the blood and gore effects that are going to be inside of there. Okay. Pretty good there. Alright. Set him aside. These start drying. And I think I'm going to move on to the metal base coats on this guy. For that, I'm going to use pig iron, P3 pig iron. And not getting too fancy or anything here, just base coating metals. Really trying to keep the overall theme of this army very dark. I don't want it to have anything about it that is happy and bright. Saw some discussion in the chat room while I was getting everything set up to come back on, and someone was talking about how they feel discouraged when they watch these paint casts. And I really hope that's not the case. You know, I want these things to be, these paint casts to be educational. I want them to be inspirational. I want them to help you as a painter grow and develop. And I hope that not only the clients that I bring up, not only the clients that do one of these with me, but the clients who are watching, the ones who haven't paid but just taking advantage of the YouTube or the free broadcast, I hope you guys get something out of this. I hope you walk away feeling more empowered as a painter, that you can do something that you felt like maybe you previously couldn't do. Because that's the intent here, you know. I really feel like as a painter this last year, I've changed a lot. And I find myself painting less from the perspective of wanting to impress people, and more from the perspective of how can I be the best painter that I can be. And it's been an interesting transition as I've watched as I've kind of, you know, looked back and reflected on the last year. But I really feel that's some of where I'm coming from, where I'm heading to right now. And I want the same for other painters out there. I want you to be the best painter you can be. What's the motto on the painting Buddha? Be a better painter. If you're interested in learning more about the Paint or Donate Challenge, you can go onto Chain Attack's website or on their Facebook page. They've got all kinds of information up there to help you understand how you could contribute to this if you want to. Not trying to be too clean or pretty with these coats, because they're, once this metal dries, they're going to get a heavy wash and a heavy amount of weathering. So, and the fact that I've done a black base coat under these metallics, I can, if there is any parts that I miss in doing this quick base coat, I can go back and clean it up relatively easily, or it won't show through nearly as bad due to the black undercoat. I feel like I've been painting a lot of purple lately. Not only the Cehpalyx army is purple, but I'm working on that purple Crix that I broadcast on the other day, and then just picked up another PaintCast that I'll be doing, and this gentleman wants his army painted purple, so a lot of purple floating around these days. It's a cool color, I suppose. Set that guy aside. Yeah, for those of you that want to participate in the Paint or Donate, the idea is, if you paint a miniature, you're painting it to show your support to Mark. But if you wanted to paint something and then try selling it yourself and donate those proceeds, that's something you can do. This army was donated by some of the staff at Privateer Press, and so that's so Trevor called me up and he said, "Hey, do you want to paint an army for this?" And I'm just kind of in the same situation, tight on funds, but have the ability to paint and the paints to do it, and so I agreed to it. So I'm happy I did. Mark's a good friend. Again, not worrying too much about how clean I am on this coat, because I can always go back and clean it up after I do the wash. But these metallics are going to all get a heavy weathering. So a slightly uneven look to the finish anyway is desirable. This is where it gets tricky, painting on camera in a really tight area like this, because the camera is literally just inches from the model, and I'm trying to get my paintbrush in there without getting paint all over everything else, like I did just there. Let's see if I can get that off. Hopefully that doesn't leave too much metallic paint residue aside or behind. I can always go back with the purple too and clean up the base coat a little bit if I need to. Okay. Alright, now these drudges are a little, whatever they are, I don't know. Trying to think how I want to paint them, because I've got 3 of them, and I've got 3 units of infantry, and they were all going to get a unique base that would tie them into the infantry, but I don't want to just do the silver on them. I think a bronze bucket for the head, maybe a silver pipe there on the belly, that might work. Let's do that. I think we'll do that. Since I've got the pig iron paint here, we'll start with that first. Okay. Third one here. Catch this hose here on the back side too. I'm at it. That's kind of a tight spot in there, but I haven't done the cloak yet, so it's okay if I get some paint in the wrong spot. There's still plenty of time and opportunity to clean it up should that arise. Let's see how my wash is looking on this guy. Looks pretty good, but there, it still needs to dry. So give that one a few more minutes. So Drolath is saying I could color code these little guys to the units, and that's actually what I was planning on doing anyway. I'll show you guys here. So all the small based infantry is either on a base with a red color on it, a green color on it, or a yellow color on it. So each one of these guys will be on one of these different colors. So that way it'll tie them to an overall unit if it works out that way. Excuse me, the big yawn. I was up pretty late last night, got up pretty early this morning. Got a lot of work done on the car. My starter went out, so I had to pull it out this morning and then rebuild it. And then, of course, a little bit of work on the house here. So at that witching hour where it's, almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it's just about nap time. For the buckets and the gloves, I'm going to start with black gold, Negro gold from scale 75. And that'll be the base color that I'll use. And then I'll probably give it a wash and then dry brush it with a lighter gold. And then once these guys are ready to go, I will be putting some OSL effects on the center of their helmets, much like I did with the other infantry that I've already done in this army. I think that gold will work really well. Pretty nice there. Drolath is asking where do I get the scale 75 paints at? Here in the States, you can get them off of eBay, or you can get them from a company called Hangar 18 Miniatures. They seem to have a ongoing decent stock of them. And they are a good paint, guys, let me tell you. They're not all that great for base coating, to be honest, but if you're using any kind of wet blending technique, they work really, really well. I've never ordered anything from the Michigan toy store. I've been on their website a couple times, and I've been surprised at all the stuff he carries, but never ordered anything from him. I have to change that. Drudge here, yep, he's still dry, but the hands are good, so I'm going to take a break from that for a second. I'm going to grab some scale 75, what's it called? think it's called trash metal. Yeah. There we go, thrash metal. That's going to be some of my dry brush color here. My first dry brush color. And let me grab my brush I use for dry brushing. Picking out the details at this point, not trying to get too crazy with anything. Same thing on the inside here. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about using Tamaya Red to create blood and gore effects. Okay, so for this you need a dry palette, you need some Tamaya Clear Red, you're going to need a few toothpicks, you're going to need an old brush, and you're going to need, last but not least, ink. I'm going to be using P3 brown ink. First thing you want to do, take your Tamaya Red, take one of your toothpicks, and just stir it up. If it's been sitting in this pot a while, just give it a stir. Grab your old brush. Okay, mix a little bit in the well. You notice it's got a fairly thick consistency, which is good. That's what you want. Okay, and then you want to add just a drop of brown ink to that. That'll just darken it up a little bit, give it more of that blood color as opposed to the red color. Okay. And we're going to focus on putting some of the gore right around here in these clamps, and all I'm going to do is just with the brush, I'm just going to just kind of dab it on. Okay. Not really trying to do anything specific there. Just getting the blood and the gore onto the surface. This is more or less step one. Okay. And you can see how that looks. And now on the other arm. Okay. Across front here. pretty good. Looks pretty good. I'm going to take a glob now of my red and just put it in the palette next to it. And I'm going to get some blue ink now. Not turquoise. Okay, taking some blue ink. And I'm going to add just a little bit of that to it because I want to darken that even more. You see how much darker that's making it? And this I'm going to be a little more sparing with. It's a little too much, not quite thin enough yet. And you know, this is more or less the dried type blood that I'm putting on here. The nice thing too about the Tamaya red when you're doing this type of work is as it gets dry, it starts to get clumpy and sticky, and so you actually can start making, I think, a little bit more of a realistic gore effect with them. Put a little bit of red on top of that. There we go. Nice. Definitely need some there. Spread that out a bit. All right, that's looking better. The final thing I want to do is you want to get yourself a fairly dark brown. Oh, for this, probably umbral umber would be a good brown. Okay, T3 umbral umber. And you're going to mix up now some of the Tamaya red with the brown ink now into the brown paint. And this helps create a really nice dry red blood look. And just going to kind of dabble that about. Look, I was just doing this morning because I actually was when I was putting the blood effects on the sacral vault for Jay. Okay. So now I want to add some blood and gore effects inside here. And I'm not too worried about keeping it clean, because I do want it to look like it's all over the place and kind of weeping and oozing of a wound. Just a little bit up here. Looks like fresh meat. It's kind of nasty. Take some of the blue here and diddle that at the bottom there. Okay. All right. So there you go. There's your blood and gore effects on this guy. He is about done. I think what I'll do next is I'm going to paint the dial here on his chest and clean up the rim on the base, and this guy is going to be called Done, because I think that's what he is done. So let's do that real fast. We'll do a little bit of Menoth White highlight. Those of you that are watching live, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them up in chat. I don't have a guest with me right now, so I don't mind taking a couple questions if you got them. Now, I'm not going to worry too much about staying clean on this dial, because I can come back and clean it up when I'm done. I just want to worry about getting a nice even base coat on the dial. Okay. And those I think I'll make look like glowing effects. I'll set that aside so that can dry, and grab my wet palette and go back to painting these little guys. Someone's asking if I'm going to paint the toenails. Yeah, I probably should, huh? Just to be complete. Who was that? JS Twitch. Okay. Oh, here's a cool announcement I didn't make earlier. I kind of forgot about. I don't know how many of you guys watch Painting with Menoth John, either live or on the flip side when he puts it up on YouTube. But I am going to be back on his show again on May 27th. I do not know what we're going to be talking about, as he has not given me a topic yet, but he did tell me that he was going to kind of take a vote or something from the viewers and find out what topic they would like covered. So kind of excited about that. I've been on his show once. It was about 6 months ago, maybe a little longer, and a pretty cool experience, having really never done anything like that before at the time. So I was excited and grateful at the same time. So if you're a Painting with Menoth John fan, you might want to head on over there on the 27th and tune in for that. If you're not, then you should be, because John is a very funny guy, and listening to his or his podcast or his show while you're painting is a great way to pass the time. So. And I also know now what my broadcast schedule is going to be for May. I'm probably going to put those, create those events on Facebook probably tonight or tomorrow. And I will be broadcasting very similar to what I was broadcasting this month as far as times and days go. So I think I'm set to do every Thursday night in May from 6:30 to 10:30. And I will have one Saturday in there as well that I will be doing a PaintCast. So from the same time, 2 o'clock in the afternoon onward. So that way you folks who are East Coast people or in other parts of the world that are interested in catching this live might be able to do so. As far as upcoming models, let me look up on my shelf. We've got Death Jack coming up. We've got Denegra coming up. We've got some Wrath of Kings stuff happening, which is going to be pretty cool. Imperatus, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be coming up for a PaintCast. Bradigus, we're going to be doing a Bradigus with a purple paint scheme. Just talking about how I've been doing a lot of purple lately. So that'll be pretty cool when that happens. And potentially, I just heard from the client today, there's a little bit of a delay, but if it all works out, there's also potentially going to be a PaintCast coming up on trolls. And specifically, one of the things that this gentleman wanted to have covered was painting the tartans, painting the kilts on the trolls. So I've got some really good ideas for that and some cool things to talk about and share, and hopefully that'll work out for him and he can make that happen and we can do a great show about it. So that would be a fun bridge to cross when we get there. Alright, so that's all the metallic on those guys. Metallics on those guys. I think I'm going to pull these guys back now and do some base coating on, do a wash on their metals and then set them aside so they can dry. Okay. Get a smaller brush here. Set him aside now to dry. I don't know how many of you guys follow me on Facebook, but I've been putting some posts up there lately about some projects, some upcoming personal projects that I have that I'm going to be working on. Just got a message today from the gentleman I bought the Star Destroyer from, that it ships today, and he gave me the tracking number, so I should hopefully have it here in a week or two. And man, am I excited to start that project. That one is going to take me, it'll probably take me a year and a half, I'm guessing, to get that project done, just because of the amount of detail on that and the size of the kit as well. I mean, we're talking a model kit that's 20 some odd inches wide and 18 and a half inches wide and over 2 feet long. So there's a lot of work that's going to go into that Star Destroyer. But man, is it going to be quite a display piece when I'm all done. So I'm excited for that. Also, going to be starting on a Millennium Falcon model kit as well too. So that'll be fun. Need to hurry up and finish these shelves here in my office because I'm not going to have anywhere to put this stuff. Okay. Let me get myself a little more of the armor wash so these drudges can get a little bit of attention to them. As far as the toenails go on this big guy, I need to do a fairly dark color because I don't want them to stand out too much. I want to make sure and keep conveying the sense of shadow that I have going on with this miniature. So I'm probably going to start with something pretty dark. Crixbane base. That'll be my base color here. And I'm not going to go do too much detail on them. I don't want them standing out too much. Oh, and this does remind me seeing the blood and gore effects there on the base. I need to be putting some on his foot too, which I think it's all dry by now. Let me check and see. I got a little bit left here. I'll just tie his foot into the base a little bit more. There you go. That looks pretty good there. All right, and got my armor wash ready to go. Get these guys done. And then, like I say, when these guys are all dry and done, I will be adding some OSL effects to their armor a bit. Okay. And I was actually going to work a little bit on the Sacral Vault tonight too, because that thing's, gosh, 95% done. I just really have to do the basing on it, but it doesn't fit under my camera with the current setup that I have, so I don't think I'm going to be able to show it on film tonight. I mean, on the broadcast tonight. But I'll get some good pictures snapped of it, and those will go up on my Facebook page probably tomorrow. Okay, he's ready to go. Washes really are a great way, guys, to power through an army really fast. If you've got a lot of miniatures you got to get through, and you can design a paint scheme that will take advantage of washes, do it, because it'll move things a lot quicker. You won't get burned out nearly as easy or as fast, and you'll just be able to move through stuff quick. That's one thing that I wish with my Menoth I had done a little bit more of a wash-friendly color, wash-friendly paint scheme, because it takes a long time to get that teal and that white looking right together. And I have to take a break between projects on that army, because it starts to weigh on you. Okay. Looking okay. Oh yeah, and also something else I wanted to mention today too, for those of you that do follow me on Facebook. Thank you for those who have participated in the Whip Wednesday that I do. It's hardly an original idea. There's plenty of other places and artists that do such a thing, but it's really cool seeing the stuff that you guys are working on. And for those of you that take advantage and post your pictures up on those things, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. It's really cool to see the wonderful work everyone's doing out there. I hope it motivates you guys to paint, because it does me. If any of you guys are going to Lock and Load this year, make sure to let me know. I'd love to meet up with you guys and swap paint stories, or hang out and paint for a bit even. I'm planning on being there, and I'm going to be taking my painting stuff with me. From what I hear, they do have a dedicated room set up for painting in. So that's my plan, is to, one of the days when I'm there, kind of set up there for the day and just paint. I'll have stuff that I'm working on, and personal stuff and commission stuff. And so if you want to swing by, I'll be putting out on Facebook where I'm at and what times I'll be there and stuff. If you're going to be there too, swing by. Let's chat. Okay. Okay. Let me put the black on him. All I'm doing here is just adding another coat of black. And when this coat is dry, I will be adding a varnish coat to this rim so that the paint doesn't rub off, and then I will be marking his arc, his front arc. Okay, set him aside. Oh, that's drying. Let me show you guys something else on these monstrosities. That one is done, obviously the one that I just showed you guys, but let me show you one that is not done, so that you can kind of see what they look like when they're done, what they look like when they start. So here is what one of the monstrosities looks like after airbrushing. And here is what one of them looks like after paint. And you can see the difference. It gets shadowed down quite a bit. Same on the back side there. Quite a bit. So what is it that I do to get this guy darkened up so much. One thing is, right off the bat, Crick's Bane base is worked into the shadows. So, for example, two brush blending, and just moving that gray shadow color all around there. And this is an example too. Someone had asked earlier about inconsistencies in paint scheme. See, when you're dealing with living models like this, I think this is where you can actually have some inconsistency in paint scheme and get away with it, because these guys, this one and the other one that I have, they're not going to look nearly as green as this guy is, and that's by design. I don't want these guys, I don't want them to all look the same. I want them to look like they've come from different creatures, or they were manufactured different ways. And so I'm really trying to embrace that, to emphasize that. And the colors I'm using are trying to show that as well. In fact, the other monstrosity that I have, I'm probably going to use more browns in the shadow. You know, the first one I used a lot of blues and a lot of greens in the shadow. This one I'm going to use a lot of grays in the shadow, and then on the final one I'm going to use a lot of browns in the shadow. So, you know, it's all about creating that overall mood, that overall theme and feel that you're going for. Okay. Let me adjust some settings here. I'm looking a little overexposed. There we go. And there we go. Okay, that's a little bit better of a representation of what the color on this guy looks like. Someone's asking about pinning in chat right now. They said, what's your criteria for pinning a model? How much do you pin? It all depends on how the model is set up. If it's, you know, take for example, what's that unit of in convergence? The Clockwork Angels, I think is what they are. I had to pin the hell out of those things, man. You breathe wrong, and those wings come off that are on those models. So, whereas this guy, you know, I did pin quite a bit on him, but also the reason why I pinned quite a bit on him is because I don't know where this model is going to go once the auction is won. You know, it could go on the other side of the world, and so I want to make sure from a logistical standpoint that this model will make it to its destination, you know, for whoever wins the auction. So, you know, I really did a lot of pinning on this one, or on all these models actually. But then, you know, you take something like a Reckoner, you know, I'm just probably going to put a little pin in the arm on the socket, just to keep it together, you know. I don't want to spend a lot of time pinning a model, but it really just boils down to the construction of the model. And I use the biggest pin that I can. So I don't want to waste time with a small pin if it's not going to do the job. So I don't fool around. If I'm pinning something, I'm using the biggest pin that I can get into that joint. I'm just looking at the model, trying to decide where I'm wanting some shadows to be. So the gray that I'm using is desaturating this green a bit. And by desaturating, what I mean is it's taking away from the vibrancy of the green. So at some point, I'm going to need to restore that a little bit. So if that means using some green glazes, or intensifying the green highlights a bit, whatever it is I decide to do, I'm going to need to do something to make that pop a little bit more. green ink is a good way to do that, mixing up some green and yellow and a touch of red maybe to get more of like an olive type green. Okay. Just using some of the Crix Bane base right now, mixed up more like a wash, and just kind of covering all these areas right here, because these are all areas that are going to be in shadow. So I'm just darkening them up a little bit. Okay. I want to start saturating this color a little bit more with some green now. And so what I'm going to use is Scale 75 Irati green. And I'm just going to keep this pretty thin. And I'm just going to kind of glaze it on to the surface. Let me just mix that a bit more. Okay. And just to see on my hand there how thin that is. And I'm just going to start pulling that over the surface. No real rhyme and reason to it. I just don't want it to pull up anywhere. I just want to coat all the surfaces and just green them up a little bit more. Before I start working some highlights into the skin. Again, not being too picky about anything here, just getting the color on. Okay. And you can see we're getting a little closer now to those flesh tones, getting those flesh tones to match up. The highlight color that I used on these guys was first off Sherwood green and then all the way up to autumn green at the most extreme highlight. But I'm not going to be going there right yet, or not yet at least. What I want to work on is getting this cloth here painted and start working on bringing that down. On this guy here, you can see the cloth is a really dark purple. That's the way this other one's gonna be, and then the brown leather waistband, so to speak, that's right there on him. So the black color that I mix up is a combination of 3 different colors. Sanguine base, coal black, and beaten purple. I go about, for the black, 1 part beaten purple, 1 part sanguine base, and 2 parts coal black. And that's what creates the very dark purple-black color. And if it's still a touch purple, I'll either add a little more coal black, like another drop of coal black, or another drop, half drop of straight black. Although I don't like to do that because that tends to jump the color a little too far black. And I'm really just trying to create a very, very dark purple here. Okay, just mixing my colors up on my palette. Got a nice dark purple there. Only going to be on for about another 5 to 10 minutes, guys, so if you have any questions, make sure and get those up in chat. I'll be done for the evening. Well, done broadcasting for the evening, but not necessarily done painting for the evening. Did I paint that part purple? Yes, I did. It's hard to tell on the camera, but this is a very, very dark purple. Camera, it looks almost black, which is intentional. I want this color to look almost black, but in person you can see just the hint of purple to it. Just these cloth wraps on the feet. is done. I'll reference my paint cards here. I want to see what colors I used for something real quick. Okay. Let's see here. The brown. This brown color I'm using here is Vallejo leather brown. It's just to form the initial layer of brown for his little cinch on his waist, whatever it's for. I was almost thinking of calling it, I think it's called a cummerbutton. It's the thing you wear when you're on a tux. I don't know. He's not exactly wearing a tux, but oh well. Okay. That dry for a bit. Alright, I think I'll go ahead and stop there. I'm going to keep working on it though off camera. I'll just start basing all the metallics in. I like to get all my base coats in on all the spots before I move on to shading and highlighting much further. So anyway guys, thanks for being on tonight. For those of you that stuck around for the whole 2 hours, really appreciate you being here and appreciate your support. If you do have any questions, don't forget to email me at redmodeling@gmail.com. You can also check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/redmodelingpaint. If you are interested in having your own PaintCast tutorial video done, make sure and contact me at one of those locations and we could discuss the details. Until then guys, I hope you take the time to paint and enjoy it, because you'll be a better painter if you do. Take care guys, we'll see everyone later. Good night.